People who have been subscribers to this channel for a while know that I have a Google document open at all times where it shows my favorite jerseys from 1 through, it's a large number. So it shows my favorite jerseys. And I've always had people saying, well, what team do you think has the best jersey history? I don't know. So I thought, you know what? I'll assign a number to, or a number value to where teams are in the countdown. And I will come up with an average. Now, an average doesn't mean that a team doesn't have one great jersey, doesn't mean a team doesn't have one terrible jersey. It just means balancing it out. Now, on this side of the board, you're going to see the Quebec Nordiques, Vegas Golden Knights, and I've listed the Rockies and the Scouts. I don't have magnets for the Rockies and the Scouts. So, Colorado Rockies and the Kansas City Scouts are 4 and 3. The reason that Vegas and Quebec are on this side is because there's only 2 jerseys. And Quebec would have won it. So on average, Quebec would have been number 1. Vegas would have been number 2. And I thought, you know what? They can't get dragged down because they had a bad third jersey yet. In the case of Vegas, anyways, they can't get moved around with the idea that they would have got better, which is Colorado and Kansas City. So I thought, no, I'll put them down here and acknowledge Quebec number 1 overall. But again, only had 2 jerseys. Vegas only had 2 jerseys. And if you're going to say, well, Quebec had more than that WHA. Yeah, we're not getting into WHA. I don't have them. A, I don't have them in my collection. And B, then you're just getting into a lot of gray areas where... And in this case, you'll see it's 1 through 33. So for teams that have relocated, I've said, you know what? When they relocated, their jersey history, it ended there. But what I did for Jets fans... and this will make Jets fans happy. Arizona, none of the Winnipeg Jets count as Arizona jerseys. So the Winnipeg Jets are an average of the original Jets and the current Jets. And of course, the jersey I'm wearing is the number 1 jersey on said countdown, which is the one I've been lobbying heavily for the Kings to bring back as a third at some point. I know they're not going to. And I'm wearing a Burger King hat because why not? I was surprised the Kings didn't finish first in this, to be honest. I was. But let's get into it. So at number 33, and this is overall average, it's the Oilers. So again, this is in my collection and my overall average. I have the Oilers at the bottom. I don't have any of their jerseys as really top like 50, top 100. And so because they don't have any of those big hits, they end up being 33rd. In my overall countdown for average. Again, this is average. And yeah, I mean, I like the Gear jersey. I like a lot of their jerseys, but is there any that I go, wow, that's really fantastic? Not really. Number 32, on a similar vein, is the New York Islanders. And again, the Islanders have never really had a jersey that's popped. I mean, the Fisherman is the highest rated one I've got. But again, the Fisherman, if that's your highest rated one, you're probably 32nd on the overall list. And again, I found the Islander jerseys to be kind of boring, even back when I was a kid. And I still kind of sort of do. So that's, and again, I know if you're an Islander fan, you think they're classic. There's lots of other fans think they're classics. That's fine. I'm just saying on my favorites list, they average out to 32nd. 31st, this won't be a surprise either. Nashville. And again, for people who followed my channel long enough, you'll know Nashville jerseys. When I did my countdown last summer, Nashville jerseys didn't feature very highly. My favorite jersey of theirs, I don't have. So this is where certain jerseys I don't have in my collection make a difference. I don't have the Nashville third with the checkerboard around the bottom. If I had that one, they would be higher than 31st. Because that jersey would be probably top 100, and it would bump them up quite a bit. Again, I assigned the number value, and without that number to bump them up, I have them at 31st. At 30th, and they've had a lot of ugly jerseys, to the point where Philadelphia ends up being 30th. Now, what's interesting is this. In terms of logos, I love the Flyers logo. I think it's fantastic. In terms of jerseys, I'm less swayed. And this is where the jersey argument begins, and I fully anticipate when I post power rankings at any given time that people are going to argue with me about my overall rankings. But in this case, it's purely subjective. Absolutely purely subjective. So If you want to come over and go through my collection and rank them yourself, no. But yeah, Philadelphia, I have 30th. They've had a lot of jerseys, and I don't know. The one jersey that's not included in this that probably would bump them up, and I realized this morning I need to go through and inventory everything again, is the Bobby Clark jersey. Bobby Clark jersey that I got very recently is not in that, and that Bobby Clark jersey probably would bump them up out of 30th. Probably past the team that's 29th, and that's Buffalo. Buffalo has some excellent jerseys. They also have the Buffaslug. So they have great jerseys. They have some really ugly jerseys, and just the sheer number of jerseys I have of Buffaloes, which I think is 10, it does tend to kind of sort of weigh them down in the overall rankings. So they're ahead of these four, but they get weighed down because there are some really low rated jerseys in the overall numbers. It's sort of like the Islanders would get weighed down by the word mark, the Brooklyn black jersey. Like there's a lot of low scores on that as well. Number 28. And I was surprised to see these guys at 28 because I like St. Louis jerseys. I do. But when I figured out the overall average, St. Louis ends up 28th. I am legit surprised that they're 28th on the overall list. But again, what this shows is that there aren't a lot of their jerseys that I have really, really highly rated on my my inventory / countdown. And so, yeah, the St. Louis Blues, I am surprised they're 28th. I do intend to go through and make sure I've got everything inventoried and then try to, make some adjustments to the overall scores at some point. But it'll be interesting to see if that changes St. Louis's ranking. I was also kind of surprised that at 27 is Pittsburgh. I say kind of surprised because Pittsburgh does have some bland jerseys. They have, there's the word mark I was never a big fan of. They have the 06 era jerseys that aren't fantastic. There's a lot of their jerseys that are just sort of meh. And then, they have the blue Winter Classic from 2008, which I love. But outside of that, a lot of jerseys that are just sort of average to low rated on the scores. So that's how Pittsburgh ends up being 27th. 26th, Florida. Florida actually gets brought up a bit by their most recent jerseys. Their two most recent, the Adidas that I have, brings them up to 26th. Otherwise, they likely would have been right around where Philadelphia is. Florida, I think, again, their overall scores, there are 3 or 4 of them that are so close to one another that they're basically right on top of each other on the countdown because they're very, very similar jerseys. That drags down the overall score a little bit from where it would have been without those 4. But again, I had to go through and go, okay, well, I can't pick and choose on this one, or I'm going to pick and choose on all of them. And then it becomes an absolute nightmare. Number 25, Columbus. Columbus would be a lot lower if it wasn't for the cannon. The cannon brings them up a lot. So does their first third jersey, which was where this logo first showed up. Those 2 jerseys bring them up a lot because other than that, their jerseys are ranked kind of low. So the original jerseys rate kind of low, and the cannon brings them up to 25th on the overall score. Number 24. Number 24 is the Capitals. The Caps jersey brings them down a bit. So the Caps, which has a kind of a low rating overall, you guys know that the big Caps has big stripes and it's not a beautiful jersey, and it drags Washington down overall, which is too bad because there are some Washington jerseys I really, really like, including the Capitol building. So there's that. And at some point I'll do a video on my favorite jersey from each team. I've stayed away from a lot of the jersey videos because there is some danger, I think, of just repetition. And just for, again, long-term subscribers, they've seen it all before. I do have the playlist, the jersey playlist. So I'll add this power rankings to that jersey playlist. And we'll go from there with it. But yeah, I have the Capitals at 24. At 23 and very, very close to Washington. Basically to the point where I said, okay, well, which one would I rate higher? And it really comes down to, I like Tampa Bay's home and aways right now better than Washington's. And Tampa does have some really nice jerseys. Now, I don't have the Storm jersey, which would likely bump them up higher than 23rd. There are other jerseys of theirs that bump them probably down a bit. It's overall just an average, right? So on the average, they're 23rd, and yeah, so 23rd on the average, which is kind of too bad because I really do like their home jerseys right now. But all right, the overall score says 23rd, 22nd, and this is the first of the original 6 teams. Yes, it is. It's Detroit, and I know Wings fans are going to be mad because I know they're gonna say their look is clean, and it is, and so here we are. They have a very clean looking jersey. Yep, it's clean, and overall there aren't very many jerseys of Detroit's that I really like. I do like the 1927 throwback I have with Yzerman on it. I really like the anniversary jersey where that logo is done with silver instead of white. It's really sharp, and that actually brings it up because their overall score would be a much lower one on the average. Number 21, Ottawa. Senators are an interesting case where I love the O jerseys, whether it's white or black. Both jerseys are just fantastic. Really nice throwbacks to, of course, the 1910, 1920 era. Almost. I mean, they're not exactly the same. Those ones were eyesores. But the throwbacks are nice, and their overall jerseys are okay. They get weighed down by their original jerseys for me. Their original jerseys are pretty low on the overall rankings, and that keeps them down at 21st. Otherwise, they'd be right around the middle of the pack. Number 20, and I couldn't find another magnet other than this. This is why 20 has more room under it. Atlanta Thrashers. Yeah, the Thrashers get brought up by 2 jerseys. The authentic white one that I have and the blue. The blue jersey with Atlanta on the sleeve. I love that jersey. It is one that people have said is one of the uglier designs, and I'm here to say it's not. Really isn't. Love that jersey, that design, but the other ones keep it from being any higher than 20th. So Atlanta comes in 20th, and again, I didn't factor these into the Winnipeg jerseys. You're welcome, Winnipeg, because you'll see Winnipeg isn't on the board yet. Number 19, the team that Winnipeg left Winnipeg to become Arizona. So the Coyotes, 19th overall, helped by the Kachina, hurt by some of the bland designs they've had in between. The Kachina and what they have now, the jerseys they have now are very nice, and I really like the suede stylings on the logo. I think that's really sharp on the current Adidas, anyways. And so yeah, Arizona 19th, so they're right around middle of the pack, and they were close. And again, I had to make a judgment call, and Colorado bumps them down because Colorado has some really nice jerseys. You know, Colorado's stadium jersey this year, it was pretty good. It was, and I know there's people who really don't like it, but it was creative. It was something different. I really can't complain about that Colorado jersey. I think it was actually pretty nice. So yeah, the Colorado Avalanche at 18th, at 17th, and I was surprised that they're this low. There are a lot of Toronto jerseys that I really like, but the Maple Leaf they had before the current one, you know, the Phaneuf era and the Gilmore era, I was never a huge fan of that logo or just that design, and a lot of them are just kind of meh jerseys for me. So that brings down the overall average because some of, like the stadium jersey, they hit that out of the park. Their current home and aways are really nice, and they've had some excellent, like the Winter Classic from 2011, 2012, around there. 2014, you guys know the one I mean, where they were against Detroit. Really sharp one. And yeah, the overall number brings them in at 17, but there are some Toronto jerseys I've really enjoyed wearing. Number 16, kind of surprised Calgary's this low. A little bit. And yet again, I asked myself, so which Calgary jerseys do I really like? And it comes down to the Horsehead, the throwback Adidas jerseys, and other ones are just kind of average, and it brings it down. So the overall score for Calgary shows them a little bit ahead of half because there's 33 teams on the board. Number 15, Minnesota Wild. And this was one that kind of surprised me too. The Minnesota Wild, it is overall the Minnesota Wild is a sharp look. It's a clean look. The red jersey grew on me over time. The green jersey that they have currently is fantastic. I'm actually a little bit surprised that the Minnesota Wild are at 15. I kind of thought they were going to be higher. When I started doing the scoring this morning, I thought, well, Minnesota's going to be top 5. Number 14. I'm a little bit surprised Montreal didn't score higher. And yet again, they haven't had a lot of changes along the way. The Centennial jersey I got not too long ago kind of brings it down because the overall score for that one's a little bit lower. I did not do a countdown this summer because I just did one last summer and I didn't think doing a countdown again the following summer made any sense because there's not going to be any big changes. The big changes are coming because looking through this list when I was doing this and looking through these, there needs to be some changes made. For Montreal, though, no necessary changes here. And this doesn't mean I don't like their current look at all. Number 13, the Ducks have had some fantastic jerseys. They've had some missteps. I think the word mark they had when they went to Anaheim Ducks from Mighty Ducks was a misstep. Definitely brings them down. I have the black word mark. I don't have the white one. I was looking at the white one not too long ago, but the price for it on eBay was too high, and I thought, I think it was like 120, 130 bucks, and I was like, I'm not going to wear that. It's not a jersey I'm going to wear other than maybe for a video, and so, no, that does enter into my thinking, which is, okay, do I need it for like a history? Not really. So that brings them down, that word mark. Otherwise, if not for the word mark and a couple of the other jerseys that are kind of meh, Anaheim would be top 10. Anaheim has some great jerseys. You guys who were in Anaheim, you guys saw how I reacted when I saw the Mighty Wing in person and then saw the price and I went, oh, forget this. But the Mighty Wing is on the list of jerseys that I want. Somebody sent me a link that Custom Throwback Jerseys has it. Yeah, try putting it in your cart. They don't actually have it. They just have it listed. They don't have any in stock. It's really mean, is what it is. Number 12, Chicago. So the interesting thing with Chicago is that they have, I think, 3 in the top 20. 3 in my overall top 20. I love Chicago jerseys, but they also have a bunch that I'm not really sold on. It's usually the throwbacks I'm not a huge fan of that end up being lower on the overall countdown. So I was actually really surprised at Chicago's overall score at the end of it. I thought they were going to be a lot higher. So, number 12. Now we go into the top row, and we're into the top 11. And again, I've got a team or two in here that might very well not be currently in the NHL, at least not with that current city. Still a franchise. But anyways, at number 11, Vancouver. Vancouver, there are a couple of jerseys that hurt them along the way. There are some really nice ones. I know there are going to be people who are mad at me because Vancouver's ahead of teams like Montreal and Chicago and Toronto and Detroit. But again, it's my favorites. It's jerseys that I really like, and so Vancouver comes in at 11th. I was honestly pleasantly surprised they weren't higher, that they weren't in the top 5. I was really concerned they were going to be like top 5, and I thought I can't if they're top 5. Number 10, Carolina. How about that? I am legit impressed that Carolina's in the top 10. And this is without Whaler jerseys. Just throwing that out there. The caveat is there are no Whaler jerseys included in the Carolina score. This is Carolina. This is the 2/3 really bring them up. And their current Adidas in red is fantastic. Not a big fan of the Canes word mark on the white one, but the red one is absolutely fantastic. So we're into the top 9. At number 9, Dallas. Dallas has had some very nice jerseys. Dallas would be much higher if not for their word marks. The 2 word mark jerseys bring them down. They looked like university jerseys. They didn't look like hockey jerseys. I remember when they went from the star to that, and I was like, why? What are you doing? Why did you? The star is gorgeous. Why did you get away from the star? So yeah, Dallas comes in at number 9. What's interesting is, in the overall average, they were just behind the Minnesota North Stars. The Minnesota North Stars come in at 8. Would have been higher. I mean, I can't say they're dragged down by the double stripe ones, but the double stripe ones are the lowest rated amongst the Minnesota. No, The Stars jerseys from before they moved to Dallas brings them down a little bit. When they got to Dallas, they cleaned them up and they made them a little nicer. They weren't that great when they were in Minnesota, and so that brings them down, as well as the double stripe. But yeah, the Stars, and I've had that debate with people before. How, if it doesn't have the N and it says Stars, you're like, oh, that's a Dallas jersey. Not always. They had those jerseys in Minnesota for a year or two, and that was a sign they were leaving. As soon as we saw those, we knew they were getting moved. Number 7, New Jersey. So the Devils come in at number 7. I was mildly surprised that the Devils weren't higher because, again, the Devils have a very clean look. I have been very supportive of the Devils jerseys for years. I've wobbled on whether or not I believe they can make the playoffs, whether or not I believe in their future, whether or not I agree with the placement of Brodeur in the greatness category and their standing from when they were playing the neutral zone trap. But I never said a bad thing about their jerseys. It's never happened. The logo's fantastic. The jersey's fantastic. Yeah. Number 6, San Jose. The Sharks generally almost always have a really nice jersey. It's hard to find an ugly San Jose Sharks jersey, unless you're looking at like the Tiburones or one of the specialty jerseys that weren't actually worn in a game, and those don't count. So even though I have a Tiburones, which is not listed in my countdown, I have San Jose at 6. At 5, the Rangers. Yeah, I've praised Ranger jerseys for many years, and this is always surprising to some because, of course, I watched those jerseys as they won the Stanley Cup over Vancouver in 1994. But it was a very nice looking Stanley Cup final. You had the Canucks in their skate jerseys, the Rangers in their really classic looking jerseys. It was a nice looking final. Just the result didn't turn out the way I necessarily wanted it to, but the Rangers always look good. There are a couple of their jerseys that might rate a little bit lower, but the Liberty jersey is fantastic. Anytime they have a Winter Classic or a throwback, it's really nice. Their thirds are generally pretty nice jerseys. They really don't go wrong. Number 4, Boston. So no, Boston's not number 1. Boston's dragged down a bit by some of the lower rated jerseys I have, and there are some. There really are. But what brings them up is just some of the classic jerseys I have of theirs, some of the ones from the 80s, the 70s, the Winter Classics. They've got some really, really nice ones that definitely bring them up to 4. If it wasn't for their 2 Winter Classics, they'd probably be down below Minnesota and Dallas. So those really bring them up, and Boston's jersey history has been pretty consistently solid. I understand that the Paddington Bear one, which it's been long enough now, people don't call it ugly as much as they used to. That one I have rated kind of in the middle, but yeah, Boston, pretty solid overall. Number 3, I'm really surprised the Kings are 3rd. Again, I thought the Kings would be higher than 3rd. I figured the Kings would rate 1st. I'm going to say that the Raiders look of the late 80s probably brings them down a bit. Probably brings down that average so that they're 3rd. I didn't go through the weeds of why the ratings were lower for one than the other. I just calculated it all and calculated the scores. So yeah, the Kings, this is my favorite jersey. There are, I think, 4 Kings jerseys in my top 20 overall. Their look has been pretty universally fantastic. It's just, and the weird thing is their current look, I'm not a huge fan of. That's the weird part. Number 2, Hartford. You guys knew that was coming because I mentioned with Carolina it didn't include Hartford jerseys. Whaler jerseys, pretty universally excellent. The blue jersey's great, the white jersey's great, the green jersey's great. The other white jersey's fantastic. The Adidas throwback that Carolina wears, I count that as a Whalers jersey. Obviously, it's not a Hurricanes jersey, so I don't care what's in the back of the neck. It's a Whalers jersey. So yeah, they're at number 2 on the overall list. So who's number 1? Yep. If you're watching, Winnipeg. That mildly surprised me that Winnipeg averaged out to number 1, but they don't have a bad jersey. And if you're going to say the word mark, I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I'm going to say that the word mark, the light blue, I think it's something different. The jet that's in the word mark is a nice touch. And with their winter classics, whether it's blue or it's white, they're both absolutely fantastic. Their home and away jerseys are amazing. And the throwbacks, the ones from the 80s and 90s, are included in that as well. So there isn't a bad jersey in the bunch. They just don't have one. All right, so there you go. This took me about an hour to calculate the scores and then another 30 minutes to get everybody ranked. And you guys can let me know in the comment section below what a waste of time it was and how wrong I am. And yeah, for the record, Vegas and Quebec. Vegas would have been number 3. Quebec would have been number 1. So that was when I looked and went, no, I'm not thinking that. But Vegas would be ahead of everybody other than the Winnipeg Jets and the Quebec Nordiques. So there you go. Oh, and the Scouts. The Scouts would have been right here behind Philadelphia, and the Rockies would have been right in front of Philadelphia. So the Rockies and the Scouts were right down in here, and I didn't think that was fair to them at all. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.